All right, welcome into Sports Bet Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, Thursday, February 9th. Big game breakdown. Terrific. How about the doubleheader on TNT? We got the Cavs and the Thunder, also the Celtics and the Blazers, and the doubleheader on ESPN. Dynamite. North Carolina Duke and Oregon UCLA, the rematch, plus the play of the day. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. This one, we start here. We'll get to MLB in a second, too. A couple interesting stories. But, we talked about the wild beat with the VCU game last weekend. ESPN stats and info. VCU allowed a go-ahead three-point field goal with 0.4 seconds left in each of the last two games, and they won both games.
Insanity. Last night, again, they somehow end up with a pair of free throws after, in theory, they just gave it the game-winning bucket with 0.4 seconds left. Now, at 0.3, you can't do anything but tap it in. Don't know if that extra tenth of a second made a difference, but VCU living dangerously, of course, made no difference point spread-wise. They did not cover as road chalk.
All right, bad beat. How about the Wizards under 222 against the Nets? Fell 224 in overtime, only 200 in regulation. A lot of these lately, Teddy.
Oh, yeah. What about Iowa? Iowa +7. They end up going to double OT and lose by 12. That's brutal, man. Wizards Nets under, yeah, that's rough. Double OT with Iowa, yeah, that's rough. Not the only one we're going to talk about from last night. It seems to be going around. Ever since the Super Bowl, we've got some brutal beats going, Fresno State, Wyoming in 4 overtimes. That under 155 was still under after the first OT, of course. Once you get to the fourth one, didn't matter also.
All right, you were watching this game. Here's another one, the Spurs 76ers total.
Oh, yeah. So you're sitting there, and there's a ton of money on the under in that game. From 212 bet down to 207.5. All right, ends up landing 214. But with a minute left, the Spurs are up 12, and it's sitting at 200. All right, that's not supposed to get over 207.5, let alone 212. All right, so insanity. So the Spurs are up 12. Stark hits a 3 to cut it to 9. The Sixers foul for some reason. Parker hits a couple of free throws. Then Stauskas hits a 3, cuts it to 8. And the Spurs pass down the floor quickly to our old buddy from Las Vegas, Joel Anthony. And there's no one around him. And all he can do, he can pull the ball out and dribble out. But he thinks someone might foul him, and all of a sudden he kind of pulls it out. No, I'm going to change my mind. He goes in and dunks. So then the Spurs defense parts like the Red Sea on the final possession. Stark goes down the lane for the final bucket with 3 seconds left. Spurs win by 8. The line moved from San Antonio -8 to San Antonio -12. Kawhi played. Embiid was out for Philly. Total-wise, side-wise, don't matter how you want to look at it. It was a tough beat either way.
God. Yeah, bad bet. Good rundown there, Teddy. Bad bet. Phoenix and Memphis. Phoenix bet from 10 down to 7.5. No Randolph, no Carter. What do we tell you? The market still overreact every time. They lost by 19. Shenanigans late, a little skirmish. And the Suns were 4 of 22 shooting a 3.
Yeah, Memphis, even without Zach Randolph, even without Vince Carter, this team is a very consistent team in one regard. They play defense. We saw them do it against San Antonio. They held the Spurs to a season low the other night. And all this Phoenix money, +10 to +7.5, that's a significant move. Suns made less than 1 out of every 3 field goals they tried last night. Didn't sniff a point spread cover. Wrong side loser for all of that money.
A lot of wrong sides in the NBA last night. Money for the Lakers, bet down from 8 to 6.5.
Yeah, the Lakers been on a great point spread run. They were 6-0 ATS. That run ends in Detroit. And the Pistons now have a little 3-0 ATS run of their own.
Yep, Wizards bet up to 10, lucky to win the game. The Bucks bet up to 4.5. No waiters, didn't matter. They set the record. They win again. That's a dozen in a row for the Heat.
Yeah, the Wizards flat as a pancake in Brooklyn. A testament to Washington, they won the game at all. You're right. And a lot of Milwaukee money, -3 up to -4.5. Deion Waiters out for the Heat. We talked about Chris Middleton and his return for the Bucks. Well, 5 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, 15 minutes. Didn't have much of an impact. -12 with him on the floor. And, of course, Middleton gets back. So what happens? Jabari Parker gets hurt. He hurt his knee. Did not return, but it didn't matter. Middleton could have played his A game. Parker could have played his A game. The Heat just eviscerated that Bucks defense. All of that Milwaukee money was wrong. Bad bets on the Bucks.
Yeah, same thing here. The Jazz are the slowest team in the league in pace. It's dropped 120 plus on the road against the Pelicans. How about that? And money for Toronto. They lost outright in Minnesota. And the biggest dumpster fire in sports continues. The New York Knicks, my God. Before the season, Rose calls them a super team. You got Melo. I don't want to leave. I don't want to waive my no trade. They're trying to move him. Phil calls him out in the media. Phil tweets at him about an article, about the article was spot on. And then Oakley gets arrested, and they're charging him with assault after what happened at the game on national television.
I'll say this much for Oakley. At least Oakley gives a shit. Nobody else on that team seems to. I mean, Phil Jackson's been getting a check since he got there. You know, Hornacek's trying. He's in over his head. As for the effort for the Knicks, and a complete collapse again last night. They're up 10 on the Clips, midway through the fourth, and let it get away, which is something they've been doing on a consistent basis. So, at least Oakley is showing passion, even though it resulted in an assault that will probably result in him, having to face some type of situation. He's got a pretty good record at this stage. I don't know if Oakley gets probation anymore.
Yes. Oh, man. I tell you, it took like a team of guys to hold him back. There were 10 security guards that had to take him down out through the tunnel. 2 baseball notes here. Number 1, Jeff Pass and Yahoo Sports reported yesterday Major League Baseball will test a rule change in the Gulf Coast League and Arizona League in 2017. They'll put a runner on second base to start extra innings. They've been used this in international ball and in the World Baseball Classic. What do you think? Joe Torre said, fans might like it when it goes to extra innings, but you burn all your guys in the bullpen, and it really isn't a great thing for us if a game goes 17 or 18 innings. What do you think of this?
No, I mean, look, in theory, I'm into the concept, all right? I mean, as a baseball purist, I've never been a DH guy or anything like that, but this one kind of appeals to me because you're right. Nobody wants to sit through 15 innings, 17 innings, 18 innings. It's not fun for the fans. It's not a good fan experience. You put a runner on second base, you're likely to have fewer of those type of games. An interesting concept. I haven't even thought about it prior to you mentioning it. I'm like, yeah, let's try it. Gulf Coast League, sure, sounds good.
Interesting, yeah. And Torre also talked about that playoff game between the Dodgers and the Nationals where one inning took over an hour. They tried to eliminate that speed. They've been trying to speed up the game for a long time, though. Manfred gave an interview. What do you think about his stance on betting? Is he coming around?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, when we're seeing the pendulum starting to shift, it's not shifting now, it's swinging. It's not like up here. This pendulum is going in the right direction for legalized sports betting right now. Because now we've got another commissioner, and he's talking about what Adam Silver said, and saying that's the best, that it's something that bettors definitely need to be aware of, and that's the direction everyone's moving. Here's what he said, quote, "There's this buzz out there in terms of people feeling that there may be an opportunity here for additional legalized sports betting. From the perspective of our sport, Major League Baseball, quote, we are re-examining our stance on gambling. It's a conversation that's ongoing with the owners." Again, this is a league that hasn't let Pete Rose into the Hall of Fame. All right. "We are re-examining our stance on gambling." And then more from Manfred. "Here's the issue, and I think NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has probably framed it the best. Betting can be a form of fan engagement. It can fuel the popularity of sport. We understand that. Point 1. Point 2, sports betting happens. Whether it's legalized here or not, it's happening out there. So I think the question for sports is really, are we better off in a world where we have a nice, strong, uniform federal regulation of gambling that protects the integrity of sports, provides sports with the tools to ensure there is integrity of the competition, or are we better off closing our eyes to that and letting it go on as illegal gambling?" I've never heard anything even close to this coming out of any MLB's commissioner's mouth ever, Paulie. This is a paradigm shift. Now we've got 2 commissioners saying, yeah, let's look at this.
Yeah, and you got the other one. If we got one in the NFL, we don't want to compromise the integrity of the game, and we can't have a part owner who was involved with a casino. Meanwhile, they play 4 games in London now, and you can bet and the books are right across the street from the stadium. William Hill's like 7-Eleven over there. It's incredible.
Sure, and of course, make no mistake about it. Fans and bettors like us, we're betting. the American Gaming Association. You see the numbers? They estimated that $4.7 billion was bet on the Super Bowl, an all-time high, and 97% of those bets were placed illegally.
Bingo. There you go. Well done. Excellent job there. Up next, big game breakdown. We'll start with the doubleheader on TNT and the association, and then we'll get to the great doubleheader on ESPN with a deep dive on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. First up, game one of the doubleheader on TNT. Cavs continue the road trip in OKC to take on the Thunder. As we tape, Thunder won, 218 the total. Looks like no LeBron in this one, and the Cavs are 0-3 straight up in ATS without him this year. Looks like they're going to rest him on the back-to-back.
Yeah, and it looks like that. We don't have official word yet, but before the game at Indiana yesterday, Tyronn Lue said that it's likely he's going to rest if his minutes are in the high 30s or low 40s again. He played 38 minutes in the win over the Pacers, and the Cavs accomplished what they wanted to accomplish already on this trip with the win against the interlopers, Washington and Indiana. It's a spot we could easily see LeBron James sit. And of course, there was some talk that Iman Shumpert was going to be back for tonight's game. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case either. He's off crutches. He's out of the walking boot. He's even on the court taking shots in pregame, but it does not look yet like Shumpert is going to play. And who knows? We could see other bodies rest for Cleveland tonight. Again, the last two games they've accomplished, and really the last four games now, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 ATS. Had a nice little run here, and we may see Lou give some guys extra rest.
They played January 29th in Cleveland. Cavs were laying 7.5. They ran out the Thunder. Remember, the Thunder had that tough schedule, and they were gassed. Westbrook had nothing in the tank. He was 7 of 26, 1 of 6 from 3. They were minus 19 when he was on the floor, but Shumpert was there to check him as well. What do you think? They're struggling on offense without Canner.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, you talk about the guys that actually impact the game. All right, Enes Kanter hasn't moved the needle on the point spread or the power rating for Oklahoma City. And yet they're 2-4 straight up without him in the lineup. They're only scoring 99 points a game. Look, over the last 6 games without him. Dead last in the NBA, that's the Nets. Next to last in points per possession offensively, that is OKC. They're at 103.9 for the full season, so it tells you how far they have fallen. Now, it is certainly situationally a better spot than we've seen from Oklahoma City in just about anything during that brutal scheduling stretch over the last 2 months. They had back-to-back days off before a home game for the first time in over a month, so we would expect the Thunder to be a little bit fresher here than they've been in many recent.
All right, the second game of the doubleheader on TNT. Celtics can have this stretch where they're playing 7 of 8 on the road. It's a back-to-back. Portland's 1.5, 221 the total, and this is going to surprise a lot of people. And you're hearing some MVP talk, which, hold on a second. Is Isaiah Thomas good or not? Eastern Conference Player of the Month for January, 32 points per game. But he can't guard you, Teddy. And look at the real plus-minus.
Well, that's the insanity. And look, what really made this stand out to me, because we saw something from Boston on the homestand that you're almost never going to see. 4-0 straight up, 0-4 against the spread. So you say, why is that happening for the Celtics right here? Why are they struggling to cover numbers? And then you start to look at this incredible graphic. Look, Celtics in the fourth quarter, with Thomas on the court, they're minus 1.7. With him off the court, they're plus 20.6 in terms of offensive rating and defensive rating. For the season overall, Isaiah Thomas, a guy who, again, your mainstream media, MVP, look, he's the player of the month. Okay? He's scoring points. He can't stop him in the fourth quarter. For the season, Boston, plus 2.8 with him on the floor, plus 3.4 with him on the bench. And we're talking about a guy who's probably played the best, not probably, he's played the best 6-week stretch of his career during this span offensively. And they're still better with him on the bench for the season. The advanced metric numbers are telling us pretty clearly Isaiah Thomas is maybe a little bit overrated, and that has everything to do with what he's doing on the defensive end of the court, Paulie.
And look at the real plus-minus. Point guard overall, he's 13th. Point guards in defense, he's 86th. That's 86 players tracked. He's dead last. You got to be kidding me.
Well, yeah, I mean, and when you look at the last time these two teams played, they played at Boston on January 21st. And it tells you exactly what the Isaiah Thomas conundrum is in a nutshell. All right, he went nuts. He scored 41 points in 43 minutes. He had 0 steals. He had as many turnovers as assists. And the Celtics were -10 with him on the floor, +6 in the 9.5 minutes he didn't play. The Blazers won that game outright at Boston in overtime, 127-123. They were 8-point underdogs.
Yep, and as far as Lillard, he backed up the talk against Dallas. They won it in the worst way after they got beat, and Yogi lit him up on national television. He had 29 points, 12 of 22 shooting, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers. But they needed McCollum's buzzer beater, or the basket with 0.3 seconds to win the game. It's the same thing with Portland all these games, Teddy. They can't do much on offense in the second half, and they can't guard anybody in the fourth quarter.
No, I mean, Dallas did whatever they wanted to in the fourth quarter of that game, scoring 31 in the final stanza. Dirk hit what should have been the game, what was likely to be the game-winning 3 with 3 seconds left. Terry Stotts, quote, "We've been on the wrong end of it a lot of times this year, and so be proud of what we did. I'm glad we closed it out. We didn't do some things that we needed to do in the last minute, but we kept responding." Yeah, they did. But significant loss for the Blazers. This is not a team with a bunch of quality depth. Now, they've lost Evan Turner with a broken hand for at least a month. He's averaging just shy of 10 points a game, just shy of 4 boards, 3.5 assists. But he's one of these guys, he does a lot of little things for that team, and his minutes had been picking up. He moved into the starting lineup in mid-January. A guy who's not going to move the needle on the point spread, but is likely to have at least some impact with his absence on the floor.
All right, that's the NBA. Up next, college. The doubleheader on ESPN. North Carolina and Duke, and Oregon and UCLA, plus the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Follow us on Twitter at Paulie Howard at Teddy_covers. Big game breakdown continues. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. 5 o'clock Pacific, ESPN. North Carolina and Duke. Duke, 2.5, 162.5 the total. Just 7 miles from campus to campus. Battle of inside against outside here. Duke gets it done on the perimeter. Kennard, Allen, Jackson, Jones, all have at least 29 made triples, and they're good at the free throw line, but they don't have the depth, Teddy, especially inside.
Well, yeah, and that's the issue. I mean, they thought Harry Giles would be another one and done, an impact player, but he got injured early. He's not fitting the rotation at all right now. He played 9 minutes against Notre Dame. This is a one and done candidate. 9 minutes against the Fighting Irish, 7 minutes against Pitt, the last 2 games. And, you talk about that free throw shooting for just a moment, because, there's a lot of things to like about Duke. It might even be better. They're hitting 74.5% for the season, but Emil Jefferson's only at 59. Kennard, Allen, Jackson, and Jason Tatum, all 80% or better, and those are the guys who have the ball in their hands with a point spread on the line late in the second half. So, Duke with that perimeter game, but they're going to need all the depth they can find against that North Carolina front court, because, the Tar Heels, really unique offensively. They stink, but yet they're number 1 in the ACC in offensive efficiency for one reason and one reason only, Paulie.
Throw up the graphic, guys. This is incredible. How do they do it? ACC games only. Overall number 1 in offense. Effective field goal percentage, 11th. 3-point percentage, 11th. 2-point, 10th. And why is this happening? Number 1 in offensive rebounding. Not just number 1 in the ACC, but number 1 in the nation by a wide margin, getting rebounds on 43.7% of their own misses, which obviously leads to easy putbacks. And you just see what they have down low with Meeks, Hicks, and Jackson, big guys. Remember when they played Wisconsin earlier in the year, they destroyed them on the glass.
Well, that's just it. It's impossible for North Carolina to do what they're doing. It's a statistical anomaly, all right? They're not even in the top, they're out of they're not in single digits. They're 10th or 11th in effective field goal shooting, 3-point shooting, 2-point shooting. They turn the ball over, they steal, the ball gets stolen from them a lot. And yet they're number 1 in the conference in offense. It's impossible, but they get so many more chances because of that offensive glass. Number one in the nation. You talk about Meeks, what's he, 6'10", 260. You talk about Hicks, 6'9", 245. You talk about Justin Jackson at 6'8", 210. These guys, senior, junior, rare experience, especially in this one and done age for teams like Duke. North Carolina has that edge in the post. And of course, Duke, they're just middle of the pack, number 7 in the ACC at clearing the defensive glass. The concern, and you asked me what the key handicapping element for this game is, it's most assuredly, can Duke contain North Carolina on the offensive glass? Because if they can't, the Tar Heels are going to win this game, even if their point guard play continues to be mediocre. Certainly, Joel Berry, Nate Britt have just been average. They're certainly not at Marcus Page type level at this stage of the campaign.
What do you think of the total?
Well, I'm not looking for this to be a slow down affair, but it's not a total I have any strong opinion on, Paul.
All right, let's close with the second game of the doubleheader on ESPN. Another great game. Oregon and UCLA. Bruins 4.5, 162.5 the total. It's number 6 against number 9 in the country. Both teams 21-3. And when two good teams play with every one of their starters in double figures, you get classic offense. First matchup, Oregon was +2. They won 89-87. Brooks hit a 3 with 0.8 seconds left. But UCLA led by 8 with 3:30 left and got outplayed down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, again, they allowed 17 Ducks points in the last 3.5 minutes of that contest. And the Ducks did what they do. They put all 5 starters in double figures in that game because that's what they do in every game. I don't mean that for real, but on average, we're talking about a starting 5 where everybody averaged between 14.4 and 10.9 points per game, as you see on the graphic. But UCLA broke down that Oregon defense as well or better than anyone has all season. I mean, the Ducks' numbers are impressive defensively. Number 12 in total D. Number 1 in block shots. We saw what they did against a top-notch Arizona team last weekend. UCLA in Eugene, 34 of 64 from the floor, and only had 1 shot blocked in that contest.
Lonzo Ball looking at his first revenge game. Won't be many because he's going to go to the NBA. Bruins also of all 5 starters in double figures, plus Holiday, the 6th man. You see Leaf, Alford, Ball, Hamilton, Holiday, and Welsh. Hamilton was the only Bruin that did not score in double digits in the first matchup in Eugene. And we know they can score. Number 1 in the nation, but can they get stops? And that was a big problem. Now, I think in the Arizona game, they were surprised that the Wildcats decided to run with them, but they couldn't get a damn stop in that entire game.
No, and it's been a problem for UCLA all year. Again, only number 7 in the Pac-12 in defensive efficiency. Only number 9 in turnovers forced. I mean, you talk about Lonzo Ball and his first revenge game. This is a kid who's now been added to the Wooden Award list. But defensively, he's certainly, how do we phrase this politely? He's got work to do. Okay, he needs to be as active guarding the ball as he is when he has it in his hands. These are, a UCLA team that has impressed me repeatedly this year on the offensive end of the court, but has not impressed me at any stage during the course of the campaign on the defensive side of the court. And that's why this one, Paulie, this is a total that I have an opinion on.
All right, yeah. They get lazy on defense. They're cocky. They got to buy in, and if they want to do anything in March, they have to play some defense. So a great schedule of games. All right, money time. Play of the day. Let's get off the schneid. You know where we're going. Take it away, Teddy.
Sure. Game number 755, 756 as your betting numbers. The game we just talked about, UCLA and Oregon. Let's go over the total, 162.5. The Ducks scored 89 in the first meeting, despite only 44% from the floor. Reasonable, 37% from three-point range, 72% from the free throw line. This is a team that can and has and will shoot better than that. Look for a high-octane affair in Westwood. Let's take UCLA and Oregon over 162.5. And, we'll have this game on, Paulie, when we're doing our live chat tonight, right?
Looking forward to it. Google Hangout every Thursday, 8 o'clock Pacific. All your questions. Throw in the NFL. Doesn't matter. Reaction to the Super Bowl, props, NBA, college hoops. And then we're back here Friday for the weekend preview edition. How about St. Mary's and Gonzaga Saturday night on ESPN? It's a big show coming up, and participate whether on Twitter or with the live chat tonight. We'll talk to you then, and thanks for watching SportsBit, Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.